Hello, that was the most generic 30-second countdown. I was not
I had no
expecting the
idea what was
music.
going on the whole time. I was like, hello?
This is our talk on Revenge of the Sith on its Fanbox. My name is David Xanatos1138. We are doing all sorts of stuff for Star Wars Weekend. Chase and I had an Andor podcast last night. You can check that on its Fanbox and YouTube and a bunch of other places that I don't have memorized. I'm sorry. Let's go.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I did not hear you.
Tell us where we can find you.
Oh, you can find me at Scarlet Bruja on TikTok and then the Scarlet Bruja on Instagram. I post, my username would make you think I only post about Marvel, but it's Marvel, anime, and Star Wars. So
Chase?
Yeah, you can find me mostly on TikTok at Forward Into the Black. I'm also on Blue Sky, but I don't really use it that much. So
Yep, same.
I feel like Blue Sky fell off.
It kind of did.
Low-key.
Yeah.
it did, unfortunately.
Had a good premise, but
Dude, you would never guess you're a Wanda fan with that background.
oh, sorry. These are just
No,
this is the only place I can put my
no,
bags.
it's great. It is
Amazing.
awesime. I'm saying that complimentary.
I do have
That's
a
amazing.
giant Darth Vader right here if you want to see it. Wait. I have a giant Darth Vader Funko. An 18-inch Darth Vader Funko Pop. Maybe I can't get it. It's the big one though.
Mm-hmm.
I have it. I don't know where to put it though. I can't really display it anywhere because it's as big as my shelves. So
Well, with this Revenge of the Sith re-release, I decided to watch it in 40x. I hated it.
ooh.
The movie is awesome. 40x is so worthless. It doesn't add anything
Is
to
that
it.
where you can feel everything? I've
feel
never
the
been to one.
Water, you feel like they'll do any
Water?
excuse. Yeah, like a little mist. A little splash of water in
Okay.
your face, but there's a button to turn it off if you don't like it. And it's any sort of jostling. Like if someone fired a blaster on screen, you'd shake all over the place. It felt very unnecessary.
For a Star Wars film, that's happening the whole time.
Yeah, it actually I clocked it the very beginning, all the shaking, the middle where there's just talking and drama and politics stuff, nothing. And then when like you get to the middle with Obi-Wan and Grievous, it's shaking again, and then the end, it doesn't. So like I was hanging on for dear life for most of the movie, but seeing it again in theaters was cool overall. At least I didn't have any people in the theater that I was afraid of that would just yell out and quote the lines or cheer when Anakin is on the Jedi Temple, which I've heard a couple stories about. That's kind of weird
My
behavior.
theater was quiet
Yeah.
the whole time. It was like everyone was watching it for the first time almost, but we all know obviously it was not the first time.
We had one guy right behind us that we can only assume was on a first date with someone and was like not shutting up to the girl he was on a date with, and it was like,
Oh God,
and
not
like
that.
and like when we get to like the Darth Plagueis scene, something about like we just heard Kathleen Kennedy, and I was like, oh my God, bro, I hate to tell you, you're not getting a second date.
Oh my God, that's
like,
funny.
buddy.
Hearing that in real
bombing.
time.
You're bombing.
Yeah, no, I don't think she's gonna ever want to watch Star Wars ever again if
No,
she's already a
no.
fan.
No.
Now she's gonna be traumatized by that date and just remember
Yes.
him. Anakin is ruined for her.
Absolutely.
I just saw it in
Him
regular.
murdering children. It's like, see, this is why he's such a good character.
Oh my
Like,
God.
yeah, okay. Mom, pick me up.
I saw it in just regular, like standard, but seeing it on the big screen was so good because I didn't see it in 2005. I was like 10 years old and I had no interest in Star Wars at the time. But it was, my theater was pretty chill, I think. I think everyone was just fans, just like reminiscing and feeling everything.
Man, when episode 3 first came out, I was almost 19. I had just graduated high school. I went with some friends. I actually had worked at that same movie theater. So like people bring lightsabers. It's like I live in a retirement community town. So the fact that there was anything remotely like an event was really, really unusual. So it was a very cool experience. And then I dressed up in a Jedi robe, and I saw it
Yes.
4 times that weekend, and I played the video game like that night. Uh, and I actually went the next day dressed in a Jedi robe till like 11 o'clock in the morning, if nobody else was. It was interesting. Like, oh yeah, whoops, this doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah. I was a junior in high school, and I remember it was like the first time that I was able to like drive myself to the movie theater. It's like that was cool, but no, like I'm sure we'll get into it. This is infamously my least favorite prequel, but
Really?
yeah, I think they go down as they go along.
So
But this is such a good theater movie because of
Yes.
like all of the stuff going on, the Battle of Coruscant and the stuff on Utapau, the Battle of the Heroes. It's so much fun in the theater.
yeah, it's also my least favorite prequel.
Damn.
Uh,
Well, it's my favorite Star Wars movie, so
like I totally understand that. I totally get that. I have a very weird ranking of 2, 1, 3 of my prequels.
Mine is 1, 2, 3.
Really?
Yeah,
Phantom Menace is your okay.
I adore the Phantom Menace.
I mean, I love it too, but it's not. I don't know.
It's definitely my favorite prequel. I've always enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. I will give it this. I think that like as a movie, it is like the better movie of the three. But there's so much about the Phantom Menace that I just love. There's so many bits. There's so much like character and personality to that film, and I love Attack of the Clones' pacing. I think there's so much that's going on, and that it like handles it really well. It's throwing so much at you, but like
Yeah.
it everything has a moment to breathe, and I love it for that. And I love like all the stuff with Padme in Attack of the Clones. Mullet Obi-Wan is
Yeah.
is great. Yeah, it's one of those things like Revenge of the Sith is like pretty. If we were to rank all the movies, it's like really down there for me. But I love the movie. Like there's no bad Star Wars movies for me. So
Yeah.
like
Right.
it's fun to watch it in theaters again. But like it's like watching it again. It's just like, man, yeah, this is
Yeah.
why it's not my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can, because I was gonna go to a different thing I was thinking of. So you go.
I just wanted to, because I'm thinking of like bits and pieces of the movie are the best of all of it. Like it has the best opening of any Star Wars.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, it's my dad's favorite. He was talking about that. He was like, "It's the best thing I've ever seen in the beginning."
It's so good. It's so good. And then like, you know, the quotes and the memes that have spawned from that movie are just all over the fan base now.
The whole movie's a meme at this point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, honestly. I was thinking that because I've heard some people say like Anakin's fall is like very rushed, and I was thinking that they should watch the Clone Wars then, because it would be such a more fulfilling movie to watch if you watched Clone Wars. But I mean, it's too late for some people now. They're like, "Oh, it was too fast. His fall was too fast." But I was like, the Clone Wars, like he was going through it with Ahsoka and everything, like, and honestly, I don't know. I saw it coming in Attack of the Clones when he was talking about a dictatorship with Padme. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes, brother. Like,
I think that's one thing I love about Attack of the Clones is you do start to see those early signs of something's wrong with Anakin. Like I don't know, it's a very strange movie, but I don't know if you've ever heard oh, what is it? I can't remember the guy's name. It's like we need to talk about Kevin. It's a very weird movie. It's about like the mother of like a school shooter, and it goes through the process of everything from him being a little boy to like being in prison.
oh.
And it has a lot of those same themes of it's like these little tiny what seems to be insignificant, like that all
Mhm.
piles up, and that's what I love about Attack of the Clones is you have that moment in the field where they're kind of like getting into that semi-political talk, and Padme's like, Pardon?"
Yeah. For real.
And
And
then yeah, you always
yeah.
have like the Tuscan scene and stuff like that. From all the stuff with the, and even like in the elevator going up to Padme's estate, with Obi-Wan, like you start to see like he's not quite grasping this whole Jedi thing completely.
Right.
But then in Revenge of the Sith, it is like he's this hyper confident, like arrogant type of person.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just I agree with you on the Clone Wars on certain fronts. I think there's other, and
Mhm.
it's a kid show, and I'm like, I don't know if a kid show is the
Yeah.
appropriate medium to tell this story.
Yeah, no, true. Like certain I would just like Google like scenes that are important for Anakin
Yeah,
Skywalker's development and
yeah,
then watch those.
yeah. It's like it's something that like I have always had an issue with when it comes to the Clone Wars. Of I For a character like Darth Vader, Sky Guy is, I think, like detrimental to the character, to
Yeah.
that character arc.
Yeah.
And like it's funny because like I've talked to Brandon Darth Chalk about this. We went back and forth of like the Clone Wars was the worst thing that could have happened to Star Wars, and it's not that it's a bad show, it's
Mhm.
that young men that were like a little bit younger than Anakin is in Revenge of the Sith, who grew up with the Clone Wars, got the mental image that he is a super cool guy, and that he's the hero, he's the good guy, and he's just
Right.
misunderstood.
Mhm.
And then you have all of this like Anakin Vader apologist like rhetoric going around, and it's largely because of how the Clone Wars portrays
Yeah.
him. But yeah, it is interesting to watch Revenge of the Sith because I watched Clone Wars super late,
Yeah, me
like,
too.
Yeah, me too.
and like watching it again with a lot of the context, and it's like, this is
Yeah.
very interesting. Some of the stuff you see.
Yeah. That when they showed Anakin like in Ahsoka, the live action, and they showed him in the Clone Wars outfit, I was like, why couldn't we get that? Like, why couldn't we get Hayden Christensen in there? Well, okay, wait. What do you guys
Yeah.
think of Hayden as Anakin first? Because I know there's some.
I think Hayden's great, especially now that he's gotten to come back and kind of flex a little bit,
Hmm.
like out of the purview of George Lucas directing him. He
Hmm.
really shines, like incredibly.
I love Hayden Christensen. I I don't think he's a great actor.
Mhm.
I think that what you said, David, with George Lucas is accurate. I think George Lucas really held him back. I think his inability to write dialogue does not help Hayden Christensen. But like
Mhm.
when I watch like stuff like Jumper and some of the other movies he was in, like he is not a bad actor, but when you stack him up against Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman and Ian McDermott, and then now we're seeing him stacked up with like Rosario Dawson, and it's like he is always, in my opinion, outacted by his castmates.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's not that he's bad, it's just that everyone's so much better and so much more refined. Because keep in mind, like he didn't act like after Revenge of the Sith except for like one or two movies,
Mhm.
and then now
Yeah.
he's coming back. And like Rosario Dawson has had a very healthy career,
Hmm.
throughout her life. Ewan McGregor has consistently had incredible roles post Star Wars.
Hmm.
Like Samuel L. Jackson and Ian McDermott. Well, not so much Ian McDermott, but like all these incredible actors have just been honing their craft over the past 20 years.
Hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So I think that shows, but he's not a bad actor.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's also like the hate he used to get by like old men probably stunted him a little bit
Mhm.
because I mean, I was young, my dad used to tell me like he was like I loved him as Anakin, but there are people that were like he's not him. He's so bad, blah blah blah. I don't need the prequels, this and that. And then now it's a 180 where everyone loves Hayden as Anakin. Like the love he gets now is crazy. Like I met him at AwesomeCon and it took like all day for me to meet him for a ticket I paid for. Like
Hmm.
it was so the line was insane, and I love that he's getting all this love now, but it was just
That's
that older generation.
That's so it's so like I like my girlfriend Haley got to meet him and like you hear that same story of just like the lines for Hayden are so long when he comes when he's doing any type of convention or something like that, like it is such a big deal for so many people, and I love that. I just hate so much that the same conversations we were having in like the 2000s, like the early to mid 2000s, well, really to late 2000s, about Hayden Christensen not being, like, oh, that's not Darth Vader. It's just we're repeating that with like the Last Jedi Luke, where it's
Yeah.
just like
Mhm.
that's not Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, it is.
But
You're
it is.
yeah, like
It
it's
is.
very much Luke Skywalker in the exact same way that Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader. Like
Yeah.
he's
No,
just
I
he's
agree.
he's just Darth Vader. Like that's like and I love and it's like look, when you put a skinny white man to fill the shoes of James Earl Jones, like you're in an uphill battle to
Yeah.
begin with.
Yeah.
But like he does such a good job, especially given the work with George he had to do, and it's great to go back and watch and like I can certainly see when you go back and watch Attack of the Clones and go back and watch Revenge of the Sith, you're like, oh man, this dialogue is
Specifically for me, Attack of the Clones, some of the dialogue that Hayden had, I was like,
the fireplace scene
yeah,
alone.
I just, I like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take it as he's a teenager and just like whatever. He's like delivering it weird. But it was just it was the lines. Like
Oh yeah.
the way I wonder what George told him how to deliver the like I don't like sand whole dialogue.
Mhm.
Like I was like, I know he can do better than this. Like
Yeah. Even in episode 3, like stuff stood out like wooden. Like you're so beautiful, and it's just there was nothing behind that.
what didn't make sense to me, like every time I rewatch it, I like low key like have to look away when
Mhm.
she's like, "It's because I'm so in love with you. It should have ended at
Mm.
that." And he's like, "No, it's because I'm in love with you." I was like, "Why did you say that? Why?
You
It should have just
know,
ended at that." Like,
you remind me. Even though episode 2 is my favorite prequel, I can never watch. I have to look away when Padme decides to say, "Oh no, he's just a Padawan learner," and then Anakin throws a tantrum.
and then she's like, "Excuse me."
I can't watch that. It's like this. I'm
But
getting secondhand embarrassment right now.
but George Lucas is behind the scenes going to Natalie Portman. That really turned you on.
Faster, more intense.
Oh my god. I feel like also speaking of Padme, I wish she was more not a housewife in Revenge of the Sith.
Mhm.
And more like because her Natalie Portman, I think, is one of the most iconic actors. Like, I think she is just so good at what she does. And like the "This is how Liberty dies" with thundering applause is one of my favorite lines ever. And the
Mm.
fact that we didn't get more of that, like every time we saw her, she was just pregnant at home. Like what?
Yeah.
Like
The sidelining of Padme in Revenge of the Sith is like criminal to me.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because she's like probably the most pivotal character in the Phantom Menace, and like I will just describe it as her senatorial debut of Attack of the Clones, like where she has like rescinded her regality of Naboo and has since decided to pursue politics and become the senator of Naboo and represent them in the within the Senate. And I love her characterization of that, and I love how she is very much taking charge in almost every single scene that she's in an Attack of the Clones. And then you get to Revenge of the Sith, and it's a complete 180, where she like you said, she's stuck at home. She's the pregnant housewife.
yeah. And I feel like she wouldn't be doing that even pregnant. Like, her dresses hit it pretty well. So if that's what she was worried about,
Yeah.
she shouldn't have been. And the fact that like the democracy was dying, like Anakin was telling her, like, I'm gonna spy on Palpatine, whatever. Like,
Mhm.
she was just like, I'll just stay here. I don't think she would do that.
Yeah.
I don't think she would do that.
Yeah, it's a there's something that has bothered me, I think, in like the modern discourse where like a lot of people talk about the Rise of Skywalker, and like I understand that movie has its issues, but like people always say like, oh, it was like this was the Disney boardroom movie. It was all done by committee, and I'm like, sure, but if you hate that, I better never hear you say you like Revenge of the Sith, because that is the 20th Century Fox boardroom movie. That was the executives of Fox going like, George, honey, rein it in, finish this. He's got to become Darth Vader. This is going on too long. No. It's like there's so many interviews of George saying like he wanted he wanted Jar Jar to be a bigger part of both Attack of the Clones and especially Revenge of the Sith, and Fox was like, absolutely not. Everyone hates that thing. You cannot have him in the movie because he has like 2 lines in Revenge of the Sith. I think if that, I think he has 1 line.
I don't
Uh,
even remember the one line. I remember seeing him at Padme's funeral, but that's it.
yeah, and it's just like that's not what George wanted. A lot of what George wanted is not in Revenge of the Sith, and so it's just one of those things that like, while I do enjoy the movie, it is so frustrating just to be experiencing recycled arguments for like the sequels, and it's just like, oh God, it's 20 years later and we're doing this all over again. I hate this.
Yeah.
Let me see. I have like a list of things in my notes. I was just like writing down things. Talks about Padme. So did we like the way that they executed Anakin's fall in just in Revenge of the Sith? Like the way, like the last, like when he's in the Battle of Mustafar with Obi-Wan and like that whole thing, and like the parallels with Padme, which I really liked. I really loved those.
I don't want to say it felt sudden, but when he said, I should have known the Jedi were trying to take over, is like, it doesn't, it feels like there could have been more dialogue or something more there just to flesh it out just a little bit.
I will say this: the things I love about Anakin's fall in Revenge of the Sith is the corruption he's getting on Mustafar, like dealing with the Separatists, his fight with Obi-Wan, which is just an iconic lightsaber scene. Um, I could be hypercritical about the interactions with Padme on Mustafar, but I do enjoy that this is him making, at that tail end of the spiral into the dark side, and I like that. I do enjoy the siege of the Jedi Temple. The like you can feel the rage and hatred that is supposed to be consuming him as everything is going on. I think the youngling scene highly unnecessary.
That
But
guy has fans, by the way. He signs autographs.
oh yeah, he goes to conventions. It's hilarious.
That
He
My
took a
my
picture with Hayden Christensen too at some point.
yeah,
oh my
my
god.
my issues come down to Chancellor Palpatine's office. The scene with Mace Windu, Palpatine, and Anakin, I do not like. I think I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes in. I enjoy like the opera scene where we get the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. I enjoy that scene. One of the most beautiful scenes and shots is Anakin in the council chambers and Padme at her estate with no
Yeah.
dialogue and just the haunting vocals, as it goes back beneath both of them as they're staring to where each other would be. Beautiful, and you feel the tension, you feel the anger and frustration of Anakin. I love that scene. But there is a matter of going from the Battle of Coruscant, where he's this, happy-go-lucky, arrogant pilot that is going to show you all the tricks, and we can get into the Dooku and Grievous stuff because that is, to me, the sloppiest element of Revenge of the Sith.
I think the Dooku definitely was sloppy.
Yeah, it's one of those. This goes back to the whole sequel thing for me. Is like people get so upset over like Snoke and Phasma being wasted, and I'm like, George Lucas threw away Christopher Lee, like just threw him away, and it's like, and this is everyone's favorite movie, and I was like, all right, where's the consistency? But no, I think that from the Battle of Coruscant up to the Chancellor's office, I feel there is not a lot of exposition or action that I think adequately reflects his conflicts and his frustrations. And that's why I agree that it feels very rushed. It's just one of those, and I also think the motivation is not a good motivation. I think that this is if anyone just took a step back and like was like, hey, I need to confirm, like the fact he doesn't go to Jocasta Nu, the fact his conversation with Yoda, he gives Yoda no information, and Yoda is just left with, you're scared someone's going to die. Like, this happens, like, and you should celebrate them joining the Force. Like, he's not saying like, Master Yoda, I'm very conflicted and I'm very concerned. Like, it's like, there's things I feel like I can't even tell you. What do I do? I think Yoda would have given a much different answer had he been given more information from Anakin. Which, I mean, plays into, this is all Anakin's fault. Like,
Anakin lacks communication skills.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yes.
He needs, because watching it, like you said, like, he didn't offer any more information. He was just like, I don't want death to happen. And Yoda's like, well, it's going to. What are you talking about?
What else do you want from me, bro?
So, I agree.
As soon as Yoda said, train yourself to let go, I was like, do you know who you're talking to?
I feel like none of them understood that Anakin was a ticking time bomb from the moment he killed not just the men, but the women and the children too. He's been off the rails. Like, it took one little thing and he was like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, and I just there's something about, and that, it's like, as a staunch prequel defender in the 2000s, like, I always held back on this of like, when Mace Windu is thrown out the window and Anakin learns right then and there that Palpatine doesn't have this power he told him he had. Like, the fact that Anakin is just like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like, if he could like know how to cheat death, why wouldn't he save himself? Because Palpatine was dying.
Yeah.
And Anakin.
It's just to me, it's very messy, and I think, talking to a lot of people through TikTok, doing TikTok lives, doing podcasts, is, I think, well, there's aspects of all of this movie that are really enjoyable. I do think a lot of people tend to focus on the third act of the film more than anything.
Yeah.
Which is, the third act is really the siege of the Jedi Temple on, like, or I should say Order 66 onward.
Yes.
Whereas, like, the first act is setting up the council, having him spy on Palpatine, and then the second act being Anakin's interactions with Palpatine and the Senate and Utapau and all of that. The fights with, the battle with General Grievous and stuff like that. And that second act is really messy. Like, it's really, really messy. Just the stuff going on with General Grievous, like, it's just...
I don't know how many there are, but do you think any of the deleted scenes would have benefited staying in the movie?
I think every deleted scene would have made that
movie.
movie.
The deleted scene, because I don't remember all of them.
Because, like, the fact that Delegation of 2000 is not in there, mind blowing. Like, this movie should have been so much longer than it is. in my opinion. Like an extended cut of this movie, everyone like this has very quickly become, interchangeable with Empire Strikes Back of most people's favorite film, understandably. But like if there was an extended cut of Revenge of the Sith, I think it would go over so well with
I've
Yeah.
many people.
I've seen it was a few years ago now, but there's somebody edited together and kind of made an extended cut where Padme lives. Like she hides in the ship and goes to Alderaan and hides there. And I really like that ending for Padme more than I Die of Sadness.
Yeah, this is, this was just, in 2005, this was a huge complaint of, Leia says in Return of the Jedi, like, my mother died when she was very young. I just remember that she was very beautiful. That gives you the opportunity to let Padme live. Like there's, in my opinion, there's no need for it, for her
But
to
also,
die.
how would he remember that she was beautiful if he was literally 2 minutes old?
Yeah. And it's like, it just doesn't make sense for her to, it doesn't make sense for her to die
No. And she
in
was
this movie.
beautiful, but yeah.
Yeah. Like she's giving, it's Natalie Portman giving childbirth and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
still amazing. And then and like at the funeral she's just stunning and radiant. And oh my god, like that was the thing. Like Padme's funeral gets me every time. Like
Yeah.
and then especially with like the Tales of the Jedi with and you see Ahsoka there and stuff like that, and it's just like they've added so much more context to that scene, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I really wish George had more respect for that character, and of course Natalie Portman, because there's so much room in this universe for her to be alive. And maybe she doesn't make it to something like Return of the Jedi, and like that's totally fine. Or maybe she doesn't even make it to A New Hope, and you can tell that story later on. But like for her to die at the end of Revenge of the Sith is just,
And just
I don't
from
like it.
a broken heart, I was like, this is Star Wars we're talking about. Like, out of everything,
You can sit in
broken heart.
Bacta from like being mauled by a wampa, and you just sit in the magic gel, and everything's good. And it's like, yeah, her heart's broken. We don't know what to do. It's like,
But it's like, so help, like, what do you mean nothing we're doing is helping her? I'm like, so is she just lost the will to live? So I don't get it. I still don't understand.
it's like
Because like you gave
throw
birth
her
to
in
twins.
Bacta. Like what's
And
going
then
on?
yeah.
For reasons we
Um
can't explain, she lost the will. Heal her with the Force, we will, or so something like
yeah.
that.
Do
Yeah.
we think she was pregnant? Because I saw some theory, I think, that like once Anakin turned to the dark side, then she had the twins. She's pregnant with the twins, but it was always one. Do you guys always think it was twins or that it was one at first?
I think I know the theory you're talking about is that when Anakin turned to the dark side, that's when the
Like the
twins,
Force.
the
Yeah.
Force split the twins,
Yeah.
or split the child into twins, because the Force, as Anakin turns to the dark side, you have the power of two on the dark side, and the Force, always seeking balance, needed two to combat that. And so that's when it went from one to Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
I also love that she just has those names on hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I could see one. Like I feel like she was pregnant with Luke the whole time. I feel like Luke was the one, and then when it split, like, but she already knew Leia. Like, girl, what are you talking about? Or what? Or she just figured Luke
yeah.
out. But it's like,
It was the same thing when Palpatine named him Darth Vader. It's like he
Darth
pulled that out of thin air.
Vader.
oh my! I hate the way he talks. Like I know it's supposed to sound like annoying and disgusting, but I'm like, oh, I hate the way he
Oh,
talks.
he talks like a lizard, and he never talks like that again.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
the Force is strong with you. It's so weird.
Unlimited power. This is like, and like, there is something about, like, to me, it is like, I know some people this is their favorite Star Wars movie, but there's something about, and I'll just call it dude bros on the internet, where they unironically believe that Revenge of the Sith is the greatest movie ever made.
No.
And I'm
Well,
just
that's not
like,
true.
so if you hold up 10 fingers, could you put the movies you've seen in your life on those 10 fingers? Like, like, is that it? Is
Yeah.
that all you've seen? Because, like, I could think of plenty of movies that I would consider to be better than Revenge of the Sith, as much as I love it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. There's so much of this movie that, like, it's just, like I said, it's messy, it's sloppy in so many areas, but it also is, I think its highs are so high in this movie that it just elevates it to a whole other level in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I agree. The highs outweigh the lows, like when you're
Oh,
watching it. But
yeah.
then after you watch it, you're like, huh. Like I was reading through like a list of the deleted scenes. And I was like, they don't really show Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship. They say they're like brothers, but I don't see that.
You know,
Like,
that reminds me. The one thing that they didn't have to keep in there was when they were talking in droid. Like there's a deleted scene where they make droid
yeah,
sounds with each other.
yeah,
But everything else, I mean, Shock T, I think, dies 3 different times depending on what you see and read. Because she dies in the beginning in the deleted scene, she dies in the Jedi Temple, and then she dies in a video game. So like, I think the canon is she dies in the temple though.
Yeah. Shaak Ti gets no respect in the expanded universe.
Well, so I'm just reading one of the deleted scenes. Padme, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma form the Rebel Alliance. Why
Yeah.
didn't we see that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
That deleted
That-
scene is so incredible, and it's like it's
like
so
it
insane
sets
that
up
it's
for
not in the
Leia
movie.
so much. Like this is why Leia is the way she. Whatever.
It that scene would have had a much smoother transition when you look at, like, going from episode 3 into episode 4. And there are aspects that they do well, like when Bale goes on to the Tantive 4 and you see the ship, and it's like, oh wow, that's the ship we're going to see years later. Then you have Rogue One, which does it infinitely better. But no, it's like there's the fact that the formation of the rebellion got no acknowledgement in the final cut. Like, why? Like, you need to set up the next movie. And yes, there's a massive time jump, but set that movie up better. And they didn't.
Yeah.
But hindsight, I guess.
Talking about legends versus canon and stuff like that, and we were talking earlier about Dooku and Grievous being wasted. I feel like Grievous in Legends way more believable than he was in canon material, because he was built up to be this threat, and then Obi-Wan just dismantled him.
Yeah, the concept of Grievous is great. And the thing is that my favorite thing about the 3 villains of the trilogy is they are a reflection of Anakin. Like, Maul is the anger and hatred of Anakin Skywalker, and Count Dooku is the cunning and cleverness of Anakin Skywalker, and Grievous is the machine he will become. And it's, when you look at it in like that arc, it's really well done. It's just the fact that none of these villain, or I should say sub-villains, they are not given the chance to be expanded upon. They don't get the chance to breathe. Maul goes away at the end of Phantom Menace. We see a little bit of Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones, and he's taken away from us in the first 15 minutes of Revenge of the Sith. And you have nothing to go on with General Grievous. He's just a robot that collects lightsabers and has and it's like he's designed to sell toys. Like, he's like you want the toy of General Grievous that will, like, has the little motor spinning thing to spin a lightsaber. And it's just one of those things, like, it's like he's not in Attack of the Clones, and he should have been in Attack of the Clones. Like something to set him up so that you see more of him in Revenge of the Sith. In a way of, like, what if General Grievous was the one who knocked out Obi-Wan in that last fight, and now you have a rivalry set up between Grievous and Obi-Wan, and then you have, you do have like Dooku set up. He cuts off Anakin's arm, and he does the same to him in the next movie. But it's like, why couldn't that have been halfway through the film, like, and give us more scenes with Dooku? Like, it's just like questionable choices when it comes to the villains of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, you're opening my eyes to a lot of stuff I didn't think about. Most of the things you're talking about.
It's not like, it doesn't come from like a place of hatred. Like, I genuinely love this movie. It's just there's so many aspects of it that, like, over the years, it's just like, some of the stuff that people complained about in like 2005 were pretty nonsensical. Same way that people complain about like the sequels and a lot of the Disney projects today. And it's just like, why are we having these conversations again? But no, it's like there's stuff that, even to me, that like the more I've thought about it over the years, I'm like, okay, there is some validity to some of the complaints that some people had. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, when it comes from a place of like love, and it's like, I enjoyed this movie, but there are so many things that could have been better. Those conversations just are much more interesting than just, man, that movie's bad. It's like, well,
yeah,
no.
That's like half of the reviews I see on TikTok. They're like, I didn't like this. I don't think Rey is a Skywalker. I don't think this, and this. I'm like, but none of your claims have like.
And it's like,
yeah, I'm
nothing.
Like, what's your, like? You guys ran. Why am I'm blanking on his name. The guy who plays Finn. I always.
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega. They ran him out. Like, for what? There was no actual reason to do that to him. Same with the guy who plays Jar Jar. Like, they were so mean to him.
Yeah.
Like,
and when the internet made the word mid, when the internet made the word mid, I died a little inside. That's all I'm going to say.
Do you know, like, the way, I'm just going to say younger people, and I'm turning 30, so I'm just saying younger than me. The way they talk, I'm like, do you guys, like, do you read? Do you have a different like the way I see like comments on TikTok about movies? They're like mid. I'm like, what? But what is mid? What is it? Like,
what happened is 9/11 happened, and there was people that did not experience 9/11. People born after September 11th, 2001, were not raised with cognitive thinking. Because every time I talk to someone like this that has these opinions on whether it's the sequels or just what Star Wars done, Disney has done with Star Wars in general, and like, look, there have been ups and downs, but like my opinion, looking at it critically, like the ups and downs of Disney Star Wars have been like this, but the ups and downs of like Lucas era Star Wars were like this.
Yeah.
Like, I love telling people, I'm like, do you know like what came between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back? The holiday special. Like, it's like the last thing we got before Disney bought, like the last thing Star Wars period we got before Disney bought it was connect Star Wars with I'm Han Solo, the Dance Central game. And it's like, that's where we were in Star Wars before Disney bought it. So like the lows of Star Wars were so much lower. And I always joke that like, if you didn't like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and
I loved that show.
I love it too. Like, sure, it's not perfect, and that's okay, because nothing has been perfect except for Andor. But I'm like, when people complain about it and they don't have any good complaints, I'm like, okay, so what you need to do is you need to go and get an original Xbox. You need to buy the Obi-Wan Kenobi video game, play it, and then come back to me and tell me that you genuinely think that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show ruined Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, that video game is an abomination to Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's just one of those things. Like, there's so many things from the pre-Disney era that are just so bad. And like, look, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows with Disney, and that's fine. But when it's people who don't want to look at things like the issues with Revenge of the Sith critically. They don't want to engage with hey, the Clone Wars is great, and like Siege of Mandalore is also really good, But if you want to talk about screwing up continuity and ruining stuff, like the Siege of Mandalore does a lot of harm to the narrative of Revenge of the Sith. Like Ahsoka being so close to those scenes doesn't work. And it's like you had the perfect excuse. She left the Jedi Temple, or she left the Jedi Order because she no longer had faith that the Republic and the Jedi were going to the right cause, because they tried to convict her for something she didn't do, and her mentors turned against her, and she had every reason to leave the Jedi Order because of that. And it's a beautiful send-off, and it's like, this is why Obi-Wan and Padme don't say something like, if not for us, think of Ahsoka. Because obviously she didn't exist when they made Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But it's like, and it's like how, and you know, you have prequelitis with the Clone Wars, in the same way you have prequelitis with the prequels. Like it does not line up with the original trilogy super well, and the Clone Wars do not line up perfectly with the movies. But like, because it's like, you know, this was what's so funny to me is when Ahsoka showed up in The Mandalorian. And like my family, who is a very casual Star Wars family, like they like Star Wars, like they love, you know, watching the movies, and you know, like my mom will sometimes get my dad like an X-wing little RC car thing for Christmas, like very casual fans. And Ahsoka comes on screen like, oh, I like that Ahsoka character, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's like Anakin's Padawan, like that she was like Anakin was her Jedi master, and they're like,
Yeah.
did I?
My dad
like,
has
do I
similar
need? I, it's like it was like, man, I feel like I need to watch the movies again. I don't remember her, and I'm like, she's not in the movies. There was this TV show in 2008, and it totally changes the elements of the prequels, and they're like, oh, okay. And that's why I always tell people, like, Satine will never be in live action, ever. And it's like, the moment you tell a casual fan who has only seen the movies that Obi-Wan Kenobi has a girlfriend, they will go, what?
I said that literally after me and my dad watched Revenge of the Sith. I was telling him, I was like, Dad, did you know Obi-Wan has a girlfriend? He was like, no, he doesn't. That's not in the movies. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you about this because there's actually no point.
It just wouldn't work. For the people who are like, I'm just going to say, movies and Mandalorian fans, I think, is like kind of like the new modern casual Star Wars fan, like may or may not have seen Solo, and has just seen the main movies, probably Rogue One, and then has mostly watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
For Bo-Katan, for Bo-Katan to be in The Mandalorian and never mention Satine, it's not happening.
Yeah,
no way.
I genuinely believe that there was a board meeting of like Disney with like you know, Dave Filoni be like, we should bring Satine in, and then you have Pablo Hidalgo and Kathleen Kennedy being like, you cannot tell a 60-year-old man who has grown up with Alec Guinness that he has a girlfriend. You are not allowed to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was enough. Like when you were talking about your family with Ahsoka, because I watched The Mandalorian with my dad, and he was like the same. He was like, who is this chick? Like, who the hell is she? I was like, actually. He was like,
how many Boba Fett's are there?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say my dad is he's like, can you be a little more than casual Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I think
like, you know, like, everything about the movies, but like he doesn't watch anything else. Like he's not watching Clone Wars or Rebels. He has no idea what I'm talking about when I talk about Chopper.
My dad and my sister are, I would call them live action fans. Like they will go to the theater to watch the new Star Wars every time. You know, maybe not opening weekend, they're not going to dress up, but they're like, oh cool, Star Wars is back in the theater. Let's go watch Rogue One. When Starfighter comes out, my dad will go see Starfighter. Like he doesn't know that Starfighter exists. But he's also like the first one to call me and be like, have you watched the new Andor? And I'm like, yes, Dad, I have watched Andor.
I have to catch up on Andor. I've only heard amazing things.
It's
so
amazing. Yes.
It is. Dave and I were talking about this yesterday of like, Andor is so good, it almost feels criminal. Like if you're ranking Star Wars movies now, it's like, do we throw in Andor? like it's like my ranking has for years now been A New Hope, Rogue One, Empire Strikes Back. Like I am an original, like went to the special editions in theaters. Like I am an original trilogy fan through and through. And I'm like, does Andor beat out Empire Strikes Back for me now? Like it's that good.
Yeah,
And
my show ranking used to be live action wise was Kenobi on top because I love everything in Kenobi.
yeah,
And then now that Andor is like, oh, maybe it's like neck and neck. It's gonna take the top spot because it's so good.
All right, I gotta watch it.
yeah. You know, the thing, and this is maybe just kind of like talking about the fans, and I think there are two types of fans for me, and I call them the hallway fans,
Yes.
where it's like, if your favorite thing about Rogue One is the Darth Vader hallway scene, like we have vastly different interpretations of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like
Well, some people just like it for the hype too.
yeah,
Like they're
and like
not thinking.
for like Kenobi, it's like oh yeah, like like Kenobi was fine, but my favorite part was the fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi and then Anakin or Darth Vader's mask doing that, and like I am what you made me, Anakin is gone. And I was like, yeah, that's a great scene. The best part of that show is Obi-Wan Kenobi leaning down to Leia and telling her about her parents.
I
That
got
is the
so
best
much
part of that
crap
show.
for saying I loved little Leia. Like people are like,
She's so
she's
great.
bad. I was like, first of all, she's a child. Like you're like
She's
a
so
50-year-old
good.
man, and I bet you could not do that. Second of all, her like when Obi-Wan was talking about Anakin and Padme, I like shed tears.
Yeah.
I was like, and
I
oh my god,
cried
when he was like,
throughout the whole
when he
series.
said these are gifts from your mother, oh
Oh
god,
my!
I like
It is.
lost it.
That is to me the most important scene of that entire show, because I think in a small way it adds more context to the line that Leia has in Return of the Jedi, is because and I think it adds a lot of context. Like I remember when that show finished, the first thing I did was I went and rewatched A New Hope, and then having that context of help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Yes. Yes.
It changes everything. And like them having a relationship is so beautiful. And again, like that last moment when they're on Alderaan and it's just like, these are things from your mother and these are things from your father. And it's like just Obi-Wan being able to talk about Anakin. Like after Mustafar, after everything, after what he just went through, still, and this is what makes Obi-Wan such a good like Jedi, is he can still talk about Anakin with love and compassion in spite of everything.
Obi-Wan is that dude.
Yeah.
For real.
He's got that dog in him.
Yeah. He has Riz. He got all of it. Like I love him.
And to maybe tie it back to Revenge of the Sith, like Obi-Wan to me is like the star of Revenge of the Sith. Like the things he does, and one of the like the heartbreaking moments, especially like with the context of Kenobi and everything, is when they're at the Jedi Temple and Yoda says, I forget the line, but like in the security cam, only like darkness will you find, and it's like Obi-Wan's like I still need to know. And it's just one of those things, like Ewan McGregor's performance in that movie is so good, and
he's fantastic.
He's so good, and Obi-Wan is just such an incredible character. And the thing I will give like the Clone Wars is they really added a lot of depth and nuance to Obi-Wan's character, and he was already a very dynamic and impressive character from the originals to the prequels. And in Revenge of the Sith, he's just incredible. Like, I know it's like a meme at this point, but like shooting General Grievous and throwing the blaster down like it was disgusting is like so uncivilized.
I was just thinking of there was a new video I saw on TikTok of Obi-Wan where there was like every time the camera pans to him, it plays like sexy back.
I saw
And
that.
it's just like him standing at the ship, and Padme's like, no,
Well, like there's like these moments of like, again, like with the context, when you look at the context of everything, you know, from the Clone Wars to the Kenobi show to A New Hope, and all of the things that they talk about in the originals, like when Obi-Wan's getting on the shuttle. And Anakin says to him, "May the Force be with you." And it's like you realize that's the last time they're going to interact as people who care about each other. And you just I was watching it in the theaters, just thinking about it, and I was like, you know, I just got like just these like images of what's about to happen, what happens in Kenobi, and what happens in A New Hope, and it's like that's like the saddest scene.
no, it
Visually,
really is.
Obi-Wan is standing in the light and Anakin's standing in the darkness.
Yeah.
Too. Symbolism.
I was thinking, like, when I was watching it in the theaters, I was like looking for those small details where like the colors are different, or like where the shadow is on Anakin's face and like showing like light and dark. And I was like, wow, like they do that very well. Like, even in the Kenobi show, I know they said it was accidental with like, I know we are just talking about the Darth Vader helmet scene where like it's like red and then it turns blue and it was like back to red again or whatever. They're so good at that, even if it's
No,
not meant to happen.
that scene is great. It is like beautifully shot. It has a lot of emotion behind it, and that whole show has great like the just the shots of like with, you know, the I'll just say like the fire scene is the best way I can put it, is, you know, when he throws Obi-Wan into the fire, you know, it's like he's throwing him into where he felt Obi-Wan left him, and then you have the image of like Vader like out of focus with the fire in front of him. Like there's so many good shots and so much symbolism there. And there is like a lot of those moments in Revenge of the Sith. Like I will say, I think that like cinematography wise, like it is the strongest of the prequels. Like there are multiple moments
Yeah.
in that scene where it's just like you just see like you see great symmetry. There's like incredible framing in a lot of stuff. Like Anakin coming up the stairs with the clones, Mace Windu with the Jedi Masters,
Oh my
you know,
God.
flanking him, you know, marching in, and you have that just upward camera angle.
That's like
I
daunting when you watch him go up the steps. I was at the Star Wars event last year where they had it on the Empire State Building, and
Mhm.
they played that and I got chills. I was like feeling almost nauseous. I was like, "Oh my God." Like what like iconic moment, and just seeing that was insane.
Yeah. Like there's so many amazing moments in that movie. There are like the imagery, like I one of my favorite things like image wise or just like shot wise is the Battle of the Heroes, and it's like it's the first time we've seen lightsabers clash that where it wasn't blue and red or green and red, and you see two blue lightsabers clashing, and then you have these crescendo moments and with like the lava erupting, and it's like the lava is almost in sync with Anakin's emotions. And it's just so many moments that like I think a lot of people get like caught up in the choreography of that scene, and like how like yeah, it's flashy and they're doing some super cool stuff, but there's just so much visual storytelling happening as that fight is going on. And just like there's the shots of like Anakin on that floating platform, and it comes in and he comes into frame, and he's like not on, he's doesn't have his guard up, and he is just waiting for Obi-Wan's next move, and there's just like anger in his eyes and in his face, and the contrasted with Obi-Wan, who's trying to have like empathy for him the entire time, and it's just so many beautiful moments of that scene where it's not just them fighting, and it's just
Yeah.
it's just the way that they interact with each other. And I think, you know, one thing I'll say about Hayden is how he interacts with Ewan McGregor is like, I wish he had that chemistry with Natalie Portman. But they work so well together, and like the interviews like for Kenobi and Ahsoka, where like they both feel like there was something so special about how they worked together, that like it shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's funny. I wish he had that with Natalie Portman. I was watching an interview. Someone asked him, like, I think it was Master P, was like asking if he was sleeping with Natalie. I was like, why were they allowed to ask this? Like, that's so weird. He was like, did you hit that? He was like, what?
That's awkward.
Yeah, like, why would you? I felt so bad for him. I didn't know that existed, but I was like, that was interviews back in the day. He was just like,
Man.
did you? Oh my gosh. And I just realized that Natalie Portman was like studying for Harvard while she was filming Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
What the heck? What the heck? I didn't know she was so smart. I knew she was smart, but like Harvard? That's crazy. Do we
All
have
right.
anything else we want to discuss?
We're at the hour mark. So, yes, final thoughts.
Well, now I have to rewatch the originals because you made me rethink my entire life. Like, so maybe Revenge of the Sith isn't my favorite.
The Revenge of the Sith is a beautifully flawed film. Like it is like my prequel ranking hasn't changed. I don't think my like regular ranking has changed much. There are so like we talked about, the highs of this movie are so high, and the beautiful moments, the sad moments, the exciting moments, they hit so hard, especially back on the big screen. Like there's nothing compares to the Battle of Coruscant or the lava erupting on the silver screen with a huge sound system. But there are so many elements of this film that like you know, like as much as I can get frustrated with how George tampered with Return of the Jedi in so many negative ways, I was like, George, maybe a little special edition love for Revenge of the Sith could go a long way. Like, give us a little bit more Dooku, give us a little bit more Grievous, give us a little bit more Anakin, like doing things
like
he
real
shouldn't be doing.
Anakin, like not just like saying like, oh, now he thinks the Jedi are gonna take over. Like, I feel like there was no build up. It's just like he was told this, so he believes it. And I feel like Anakin would investigate more rather than just like,
give me more dreams he's having about Shmi, and how he's having conflicting dreams that involve both Padme and Shmi, and it's overwhelming for him.
Yeah.
Like, give me more of that where I can feel for him, and give me a reason as to why he wants to be so secluded in his council with Yoda and be more emotional. Like, he's supposed to be emotional. Emotions are what drives him to the dark side. You know, make him emotional with Yoda and you know, vulnerable with him. And I would love to see that. You know, we're never going to get that, and that's fine.
I wish, because Darth Vader is supposed to be like the best villain, like the most scary villain ever. And it's like, I feel like if we got all of Anakin's story, all of it, like all the nitty gritty stuff, I feel like he would be an even more compelling villain than he already is.
There are elements in Revenge of the Sith that should have been there are like arcs of Anakin's story that should have been in Attack of the Clones, like the more subtle things, like the conversation with Palpatine at the opera with Darth, you know, the Darth Plagueis thing, that should have been an Attack of the Clones. Like the seeds should have been planted in that movie, and the Tuscans should have been early on in Revenge of the Sith. And so you're like, he is falling down this path very darkly.
Yeah, because with the Tuscans, it's like it happened, and then everyone's like, oh, but he's fine. He's like still a great Jedi. And Padme's like, yes, red flags are green, actually.
I'm colorblind.
Like, when they were in that field, I was really like, girl, he is telling you he's insane. Like, and as a politician, she's going to be like, yeah, my boyfriend wants a dictatorship if it's right. What? Like,
oh, Annie, little Annie. But no, like it's a great, like all Star Wars movies are great in their own way, and there's so many great things about Revenge of the Sith. And I can be really hard on Revenge of the Sith, but like it is such a fun movie, and it's so fun to see it back in theaters. There's nothing the chills of Darth Vader's first breath.
That was, oh my god,
quickly ruined by no, but the first
that's
breath,
what they added, right? I think they added that later.
They
Did they?
added in the Return of the Jedi
Oh,
special special
that's right. They
edition
added no later in
when
Return
he
of the Jedi.
throws when he's going after Palpatine, when Palpatine's
Oh,
lecturing Luke,
yes.
they throw the no
Yeah.
in. But no, like I'm sorry, like you will never convince me that like that mask coming down on his face and seeing Darth Vader for the like like our first look at Darth Vader or how Darth Vader came to be, and then you hear the it's like
Like, I low key wish they just ended the movie right there. Like,
oh
heard cut, like, and the
yes,
screen's black, and it just is
just
his breath.
breathing.
Oh,
Bum
that would have
ba-dum
been.
ba-dum ba-dum ba-dum.
Yep, that
Like
would have been so. Oh,
perfect.
oh, that
Leave
would have been the
Padme's
best.
fate, a mystery,
Yeah, that. Oh my gosh, that would have been. So, oh my god, yes. Why
But
can't we have nice things?
George Lucas didn't call me when he was making the movie, so
David, what are your final thoughts?
Well, like I've heard Chase say before, every Star Wars to me is a 10 out of 10. It's just a different 10 in places.
Mhm.
Revenge of the Sith is one of my least rewatched films, but I mean, there's so much Star Wars that like I take elements from Revenge of the Sith. I love elements from Revenge of the Sith, but like the fact that it's so sad is I think why I don't go back to it as often. Uh, but there are incredible scenes, incredible moments, and I'm glad that it's getting like more love, but also like Chase said, the weird arguments are coming back around, and I just move past those. I feel like,
Yeah, I agree. Well, it was nice chatting about Revenge of the Sith.
of
I had
course,
a lot of fun.
yeah.
and that's gonna do it. I'm gonna do something a little different because I could not. That blank screen you saw was me trying to add a scene, and it did not work.
Oh.
So I
Right.
am going to end us with, if I can find the button again, my eyes are blurry. There we go. And Tony Ann, tell them where we can find you again.
At Scarlet Bruja on TikTok and the Scarlet Bruja on Instagram.
Chase.
Yeah, you can find me mostly on TikTok at Forward into the Black. You can also find me Thursdays on the Pod Wants podcast. You can find me Wednesday mornings on the Dork Place, talking with AJ about video games. And then until Andor's over, I'll be on its Fanbox talking about Andor with you.
Yep. And
Yes.
that's every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Anyone is welcome to join. If you want to join, it's Fanbox. It's a soapbox. It's a Fanbox. It's Sandbox. All of that good stuff. We encourage creators to come on and chat with us about all things nerdy. And coming up, we have TARDIS Talk every Sunday, after Andor's every Saturday for a couple more weeks. And we're probably going to transition more into a generic Star Wars podcast of various things that's still in the works. And check us out on all socials. And that's going to do it for us. Have a good night. Bye.